Time for Thinking Real Estate. Laura's still on assignment. Jackie Austin hosting again this week.
Hi.
How are you, Jackie?
Good, how are you?
Good.
Good. Well, I brought with me this week Scott Tenbrink. He is working with the University of Michigan on the Citizen Engagement Program. And so we've had him on before to talk about it, but we thought it'd be fun to talk about it a little bit now because they've got some new stuff going on, or more stuff, more information on what we already knew. So, hi Scott.
Good morning. Good morning, Greg.
Morning.
How are you today?
I'm doing great. Staying warm, just barely.
Barely.
Hold it now. It's warm in here today.
It is.
Now I'm warming up.
Oh,
no
yeah.
Shipped
question.
in a new heater.
Yeah, Greg's all excited about this new year.
I can feel my feet today.
Yeah, I thought out the second I walked in here.
There you go.
So we want to talk about the Citizen Engagement Program. So tell us a little bit about what that actually is.
Sure. The University of Michigan School of Information. That's kind of where we start. Was looking for a partner city to do a project around citizen interaction, citizen engagement, and information tools. So those are the two concepts that I'm kind of bringing around to people, explaining what they are and how they might mash together.
Mm-hmm.
So the program is a 3-year project to try to use information tools to increase and improve citizen engagement, citizen interaction inside the City of Jackson community.
Okay.
That happens through a bunch of classes. So we have master's students coming in to work on projects heavily during the winter semester, now through the end of April,
Mm-hmm.
and for 3 years, and then continuing throughout the year with staff like myself, other interns, and student projects that'll happen.
Well, so you've got, how many students are working in the program? Or do you know?
So we've got a class right now
Uh-huh.
of 31 or 2 students.
Okay.
They're going to be working on 10 different projects.
Oh, wow. That's exciting.
Most of those are connected with a city department.
Okay.
A couple of them are outside of the city as an organization, but still focused on city-related issues.
City-related stuff. So the whole goal of the whole program is to come up with ways that the city can interact more with the citizens, correct? Basically?
I think that is at least
Or
a big
vice
part
versa?
of it.
Okay.
I would think about it even more broadly than that we want to use information tools, and that can be...
That's broad.
Yeah, that's a real broad idea, but to increase citizen interaction and engagement. So being engaged with your community may not mean that you're engaged directly with your city, although that's kind of the core, that's where we're starting.
Okay.
And we have the partnership with the city as
Right.
an organization, so that really makes sense. But thinking about how citizens work with, connect with, and communicate with nonprofit organizations that do
Okay.
things to build our community, informal organizations like you and I are in the same neighborhood. We have a neighborhood group,
Yep,
right?
yep.
An
Oh,
online
Nextdoor.
nextdoor.com
Yep.
little unofficial neighborhood group. And one of the things that they'd like to work on is how do we encourage that kind of association? How does
Okay.
that help build
Okay.
citizenship and engagement?
All right. So it's getting people involved, basically.
Yeah, in all kinds of ways. Although, again, we're starting out with a focus on the city and what's going on there. So we can talk about the projects that we're doing. You'll hear that it's a lot of
Okay.
real civic.
Okay. Well,
kind of
let's
stuff.
talk about some of the projects. What are some of the 10 projects that they're working on?
All right, so I'll start with probably my favorite one.
Okay.
My favorite one is a road construction project that is happening downtown
Yay.
over the next 6 months. Now, I don't think anybody is particularly excited about the idea of having Michigan Avenue torn up between essentially First and Francis. So if you can't envision where that is, just envision anywhere that you would consider downtown on Michigan Avenue. It's going to be a mess. It's a sewer replacement, if I remember right.
Sewer replacement, plus they're doing other utility work while they're down there.
Yeah, I think that initiated an opportunity to do all kinds of things. In fact, they're going to redo the streetscape downtown. So streetscape just means everything in the right of way, so it goes all the way from the sidewalk
building
all
to
the way
building,
into
yeah.
into the middle of the road. Mostly from building to building,
Mostly.
if you've built up to the edge of your,
Yeah.
of your lot.
When is that slated?
I think that's gonna start in early fall.
Early fall, yeah. From what I'm hearing, it's end of August-ish. We don't have a specific date yet, but I think they're getting close. By March, they should know what the timeline's going to be.
So the students aren't doing that. Don't
Right.
let me
No.
confuse things. But one idea is this idea that they're working on is how do we take a problem that no one is arguing that that's not a problem, and especially local merchants downtown, right? But what can we do to make people aware of what's going on, help them understand how to still get downtown, access those businesses, and maybe even attract people downtown to see what's going on, help them understand how their local government works through this project. So we're envisioning it almost as I'm going to use the term museum exhibit. So you go to this hole in the ground where a lot of action is going on, and there's signs that say, this is what's happening right now, this is how this connects to, this is what you're looking at in this hole is the same thing that connects to your house. Maybe it explains something like that. Maybe it explains some of the history we see. Very likely we're going to uncover stuff that we never knew was downtown
Was
that
there.
explains a little bit of history. That'll be really interesting. And at the same time, maybe lay out some of the ideas for what is the streetscape going to look like, what will the downtown buildings and parks look like, so we can
So it can be useful in the future. What's
get some idea of what's
Okay.
coming in the future, give a little bit of history to our community, and explain the project. And still, how can you get to Miller Shoes? How can you get to Pickle Barrel? How can you get to
right.
every downtown business and keep them going? Because that's an important part of
Yeah,
this.
I agree with you. I'm excited about that project too. I'm on the DDA committee that's helping with that promotion. So I'm excited about working with the students. We just found out yesterday that we were going to get that opportunity. So I am looking
How
forward
does
to
the
it.
DDA feel though?
DDA is excited about the opportunity for this challenge. I mean, it is going to be a challenge to.
How long will businesses be affected?
We don't know the timeline yet. So, but the goal is to create a program using the new ideas from these students and the ideas from the other volunteers and things like that, to create excitement about the program and about the project and get people downtown. Maybe they wouldn't have come downtown for any other reason but to see what's cool going on down with this construction and see what's happening.
I wouldn't have. I'm the one who's usually touting the crazy ideas, right? My last job was getting everybody to ride their bike to work after all. So, but I don't think I would have bought into this if I hadn't been downtown when they were taking down the Consumers Building. And I swear we could have put stadium seating in front of the JSO,
Yeah.
and it would have filled up. Bleachers would have filled up to watch people knock that building down.
Yeah.
Now, a building coming down, it has a little more excitement than a hole in the ground. I'll agree with that. But
Yeah.
there was nothing there to say, this is what we're going to do today, this is what you could see tomorrow happening at the building, this is why we're squirting the water, why we have a hose constantly
Right.
running on the building.
Yeah, they had all that sand around the building, which was a very interesting story about it was to catch the granite and things like that, and
Right.
people didn't know that stuff. So
Now help me out, will Michigan Ave, will it be closed in small sections?
the plan right now, I believe, and again, they haven't finalized any of the timeline or plan or anything like that. I think their plan right now is to try to do it block by block,
Okay,
so that you can still maneuver downtown.
that would make it a lot easier,
At
obviously.
least being able to use those crossroads,
Right.
right?
Right. So, that's the plan, but, and the city is working very hard to make sure that it's a good plan that will, keep everybody coming downtown and try to keep people as happy as possible during a very stressful time, I'm sure.
I think, Scott, you have a lot of access from both Cortland and Pearl to a lot of businesses.
Oh yeah. From a kind of a planning perspective, we have a traditional downtown with buildings facing Michigan and all our parking in back of both those buildings
Right.
along Pearl and Cortland. So it's easy to access those buildings. It's not so easy to envision when you're driving downtown, you run into an obstacle, how am I going to get to the building that I thought I was going to park in front of?
Yeah.
That's where we
Right.
need
And that
to
would be,
address
you know,
those
that would be a
issues.
great opportunity for the students to think, you know, what are some different ways that we can utilize the downtown, and I think it will actually enhance people's experience for coming downtown in the future, even when they can use Michigan Ave again. They'll have these little back secrets maybe that they didn't know about before, so. Anyway, okay, so next project, what's another one?
Oh, there's so many projects. One that I'll tell you about that's not with the city
Okay.
as an organization is an immunization project with the county health department. So they do a lot of work on childhood immunization. They work with schools, they work with parents to try to get everybody immunized. And it turns out that it's a real challenge just to share that information, help people understand that they should be immunized, how to get that done. So they've got a really low, once they know somebody hasn't immunized their kids, they have a really low rate of being able to turn that over. And they believe that it's really an issue of information and communication, that they're just not reaching those people. So this one's kind of a broader project, but could have a huge impact. And there's a lot of interest in this type of public health effort right now. A lot of public health initiatives are based around how do we communicate this issue so that it actually penetrates an audience, right? I mean, we have all heard 100 times what we should and shouldn't eat, for example, right? FDA guidelines on, and honestly, it hasn't changed
Ever.
anything about what I'm doing, you know, other than feeling guilty about
Right.
about counting things up. So how do you penetrate that audience? That's going to be a really interesting one.
Yeah, that sounds like it. And it sounds like it's a, you know, a program that even though we're just starting it here in Jackson, maybe other communities can use. And I'm assuming that's one of the goals of U of M is to create programs that can be translated.
Yeah, definitely. Everything that goes forward, our whole concept is, first of all, how does it impact the community? Is it having an impact? And secondly, is it transferable? Well, is it sustainable in the community, and is it transferable to
Okay.
another community?
So, are there other projects?
Yeah, there's 8 more of them. I'm not going to go through all of them, but another good one to bring up is is one around Jackson Connect.
Okay.
So Jackson
Oh,
Connect
Jackson
is a service that the city offers. It's kind of a broadcast tool mainly. It can do phone calls, it can do text messages, and it can do emails. And it's just a way to get information out. And I imagine anybody listening who's in the city has probably gotten a call about a snow emergency. I got one of those.
Yep, sure. Get
What
your
else?
car off the streets.
Get your
right
car
now.
off the streets, please.
I
Yeah.
know the city council uses them to announce their meetings, their
Neighborhood meetings. So some of those, and if people have lived around a road construction project, usually the engineering department uses that to contact those neighbors as well.
Yeah.
So there's been a little bit of use, but it turns out this tool is much more robust than the use that it's under currently. And there's mechanisms built into it for public feedback, to be able to go in and sign up to choose the kind of updates that you'd like to get. So if I and my family are involved in tons of parks and rec programs, potentially we could set it up so that I could go in and find out when my softball league, get any softball league updates. My kid's in soccer, so I want to get the soccer updates, but I don't want to hear about winter sports because we don't participate in winter sports, for example. Maybe I'm really interested in everything the city does, so I could get a lot of stuff, but maybe I don't want to hear about all the traffic updates and all the city council meetings and things like that, so I can kind of select. And that builds that communication that, frankly, I think has been lacking in our community. If I look back over the last year and think about the real kind of upheavals or concerns about city government over the last year, it was related to a lack of information or a lack of communication. That's my personal perspective. And I also think that the city says the same thing.
Yeah.
And what they're interested in here is how do we fix that? Because it's not something that they necessarily want to continue. They just need some assistance in
Right. Well, and communication's
initiating
gotten
that.
harder over the years. It used to be you could put something in the newspaper and everybody saw it because everybody got the newspaper, and it's just, that's a different world we're in now. You know, Facebook, I know that they've utilized their Facebook page a lot more, the city has, and I am big on that. I like that one.
But I'm not on Facebook.
But you're not on Facebook, so
So
you have another
I
issue.
I get none of that.
So-
But I am on Twitter.
Oh, all right, we're gonna start tweeting to Greg.
Well, the city does have a Twitter stream
Oh.
as well.
Who's running that? Or who runs Jackson Connect?
Part of that is, well, it all goes back to the city manager.
Okay.
To some degree, it's dispersed to the departments. So Kelly Hoover is the head of Parks and Rec. She would be responsible for any Parks and Rec participation in Jackson Connect. Some of those broader things are either run through the mayor's office, mayor/city manager's office, or Joe Hawley is a person who's maintaining the Facebook page, updating the Twitter feed, some of those other things. And it's kind of baby steps getting into that kind of thing. But you know, I want to push back a little bit on this concept that we used to all know what was going on because we got the newspaper, and now there's no way to know what's going on.
You just listen to this show.
Because it's just been a shift.
Yeah.
Now, no question, it was easy to go to the newspaper and feel like you got a good idea of what was going on in the community. I moved here 6 years ago and I felt like that. And now that's a lot different. But we did a survey of people in the city of Jackson, and we found that they're not all on Facebook, but largely, the average people are spending 2 hours a day online collecting information or learning about their community, getting news. 70% of them are using a laptop, a cell phone, or a smartphone or a tablet to connect to some kind of social media or some online resource. And yet, those people report that they're not getting any local news that way.
Right.
So
So it's
it's
just a
not
matter of-
it's not that people don't know how to get access to news.
Right.
It's that they can't
Find it.
find the news they want through the medium they're most likely to use. Now, one thing I will say, radio, it turned out, remained pretty consistent, and I think a little bit, maybe a bump up, if anything. Television.
You better
similarly.
say that.
But one of the big things we saw was that websites connected to the radio, connected to television, connected to newspaper, were a big part of what they were looking for,
Sure.
right? So I listened to the show, but I want to go on the website and find out a little more information about what was going on. People seem to be doing that.
So interaction, right?
Yeah.
So, that's good. So, how much time do we have left, Greg?
Not much.
Oh, okay. I thought we were getting close. All right, so anything else you want to tell us about the program? Or you said it was a 3-year program. Are the same students involved the whole time, or how does that work?
So it's a rotating thing.
Okay.
We've got 30 students in this winter. We'll have probably a whole different set of 30 students next winter. But the idea is continuity. That's why I have a role in this program. They wanted to hire somebody who understood the community a little bit and could continue that work. So in the summer, we'll take the projects that look most promising and build on those. And in the fall, we'll continue to do that. We'll use interns, we'll use student projects and other things like that. So we'll continue to see that, and I think we're going to continue to see a change in how the city communicates with its citizens, and hopefully how citizens kind of adapt to that as well.
Okay. Well, if anybody wanted, speaking of getting more information, if anybody wanted to get more information on it, is there some place they can go to do that?
Yeah, our Facebook page is what I would recommend, and that would be Citizen Interaction Design.
Okay.
Easy to find on Facebook. You can also go to citizeninteraction.com. Citizeninteraction.org, that's what it is.
Gotta be a little more confident with
Yeah.
the website.
Citizeninteraction.org.
All right. Well, make sure you check out the website, see what's going on in the city. Make sure you give your feedback to the city so the city knows what they need to be doing, and how we need to engage these students. If you're looking for real estate, we need some listings out there. So call me 517-780-3800.
Thanks, Jeff.
It's Mid-Michigan's first and largest boat show. With 58th annual boat show on sale.